How many have you never, ever said the words, "What was I thinking"?
What was I thinking?
How many? You've never said it. Raise your hand. Aha, it's unanimous. Of course we did. But here's the deal. When you say, "What was I thinking?" you know exactly what you were thinking. You're thinking there's some challenge here. That I could get in trouble, I could get hurt, I could, all kinds of things. So we find some way to rationalize it by saying something like, well, it's probably nothing. And I would hope after today you strike those words from your vocabulary, because it is something. Something in your universe triggered your thoughts on that things weren't safe. I mentioned a couple of talks ago Ted Kaczynski, the Unabomber. How many of you remember when the Unabomber was going around? That was in the 90s, late 80s, early 90s. And it was interesting in that the corporate world took over the whole arena of educating people about what disguised weapons look like, what, boxes, the missions that would come in, and how to look for it, whether it was handwritten, whether it was a return address label. So that was in everybody's mind. And it was at about the same time that the serial murderer Richard Ramirez came in. How many remember him, the Night Stalker, who's also happened to be a cannibal? But that's the mindset that's going on. So it overloads the senses to you get to the point where just to maintain your sanity, you have to come with some reasonable explanation for why you have those thoughts. And usually it's designed to come up with the idea that there is no danger. And you say that by, well, it's probably nothing. So you can go off and mind your own business and do your own thing. But the Unabomber didn't go away. And he came back to New Jersey. He ultimately killed 3 people and injured 18. One of them was Thomas Moser, who was a business executive in New Jersey, somewhere. And there was a package delivered to his home on a Saturday. And he called to his wife, who was in the kitchen with 2 of their children, and said, "Are you expecting a package?" And she said, "No." Well, he opened it up and it blew up and killed him. Again, another Unabomber case. But that gets to the idea of why would he ask that question at all? Why would he say, "Are you expecting a package?" Well, what we suspect, and we don't know because we don't have all the evidence, that there was something unusual about it, because if you get a delivery at your house now, the person who it's addressed to is on the label. You see if it's yours or somebody in your family's, and you distribute it accordingly. This apparently had none of that. So he still had all of the intuition that he had picked up along the way from listening to the speeches, to seeing the demonstrations and the slideshows. And it was every large corporation in this country anyway was actively involved in training people about how to avoid bombs. And it didn't work all that well in this one case. But that's why I got to the idea of thinking about it, that by virtue of the fact that he asked the question at all, wouldn't you think that he would do something different based on what the answer was? Well, if she says, yes, I'll do one thing. If she says, no, I'll do something else. Or why ask the question? It makes no sense. Well, you ask the question because you want to put yourself at peace of mind by saying it was probably nothing, or I should have known better. But usually it was probably nothing. And we hear that very, very frequently in your life. You will get some sense when you're with other people, some creepy little feeling, and you'll mention it, and they'll go, "Oh, that's probably nothing." Okay, that's good enough. It's good enough. I don't need to know any more than that. And so we learn that. So the message for today basically is pretty straightforward. From today on, never again and never in your life say, "I should have known better," because you did know better. Mr. Taskmaster.